Thanks, Matt. Boy, it's always tough to follow promoters. The only thing I can say, Russ, is I did go to college in Boston. I was a big Bruins fan, and Johnny Busick lived next door to me for a season, so that was a hell of a Boston Bruin club. It is my distinct honor to participate in the induction of what I think is the greatest short track driver in the Northeast to the near Hall of Fame. I have owned Robbie's team for most of his racing career in the Northeast. There are many wonderful stories to tell over the course of 15 years of racing, which time does not allow me to share with you. However, I will share one story which I think is very fitting in how I was selected to induct Robbie into the Hall of Fame. And it fits in very nicely with the show that we just saw dealing with promoters. I got this call from Tom Curley, who many of you know, in December, saying Robbie was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and he said they're looking for someone to induct him, and they asked me. And he said, I told them that you should be the person to induct Robbie for two reasons. First, you clearly know him the best. You probably worked with him as closely over his career as anybody else. He said, secondly, and I have to divert a minute, when Robbie stopped racing for me and went to NASCAR North, I observed him over 15 years and said, driving a race car is really the easiest part of this whole team sport, so I just jumped right into the driver's seat. And I raced late models for a while, and at most of Curly's tracks. So Curly said to me, you know, you meathead drivers are all alike. He said, you always think you're better than you really are. And he said, you know, I'm sure way down deep, you have aspirations of someday being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And he said, if you do have those aspirations, I suggest highly that you induct Robbie Crouch into the Hall of Fame, because that's the closest you're ever going to get. Robbie's racing accomplishments are clearly too numerous to mention. I will give you some highlights of a career unmatched by anyone in the Northeast. His career started in Tampa, Florida, racing for his legendary father, Clarence A. Crouch, better known to all of us as CA. Robbie and CA came to Vermont in '79 in order to compete in a weekly 5-race circuit made up of Thunder Road, Airborne, Catamount Stadium, Devil's Bowl, and Senair. Robbie won his first race in the Northeast at Catamount Stadium on July 7th, 1979. This win started Robbie on an unprecedented career over the next 15 years. Allow me to mention only the highlights of some of his accomplishments. He won the NASCAR North ACT Championship 6 times, 1983, 84, 86, 87, 88, and 1990. His cumulative driver performance from 1979 to 1994, based upon money won, he's first in money won of $978,000, and he raced in 337 races. He's first for the best finish. He won 77 of those races. Now, as an accountant, I figured this out with my calculator, that every time Robbie took the racetrack, he won 1 out of 4 races that he stepped onto the racetrack. He had an average finish of 7.3. He finished, he's first in the number of top 5 finishes, 206, second in the number of top 10 finishes, 243. He's first in career points earned, over 24,000. He's first in career laps led, 6,500, and he's the first in most races led, 119. At Thunder Road, the site of excitement, some of Robbie's accomplishments are as follows. He is the only four-time winner of the Milk Bowl, having won it in 1983, 86, 88, and 1990. He is one of just 3 drivers to win all 3 Milk Bowl segments, and he did that in 1986. He has won the Milk Bowl without winning a segment, talk about a stroker, and he has won the track championship multiple times. Robbie's accomplishments are unheralded, but never could have been obtained without a properly prepared car at each event. Robbie was very fortunate to have outstanding crews over his 15-year career. Many of those crew members are here today, and I would like to take a moment to recognize them. When I mention your name, if you'd stand, I'd appreciate that. Longtime crew chief for Robbie, Dick Lyons from New Hampshire. Dick. Longtime crew chief from Fairfax, Vermont, Brian Latouche. For those of you that thought that Brian didn't stand up, he really did. It's an inside joke. Longtime crew member Carl Osha. Another member of Robbie's team for many years, Gary Graves. Gary? Sign of a great champion is not only what he does on the racetrack, but what he does off the racetrack. Robbie Crouch took stock car racing to a new height as a spokesman for the sport and his representation of the tour as its champion. Robbie's charisma and his ability to speak publicly brought increased professionalism to stock car racing in the Northeast. He always made sure to treat the fans as number one, always taking time for them and letting them know how important they were to the success of the sport. His positive representation of the sport caused sponsors to seek him out, which added financial support to the operation, which obviously contributed to his success. I am proud to have been a part of Robbie's career and accomplishments. On a personal note, Robbie is my dear friend and business partner. Our relationship is very special and what life is all about. Robbie, my friend, you are one of the greatest racers in modern history and one of the nicest people placed on this earth. It is now my distinct privilege and honor to induct you into the New England Auto Racers Hall of Fame.
Well, nobody can live up to that. The greatest racer ever to, well, whatever. Ladies and gentlemen, Glenn, did you wear your glasses?
I do.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everyone involved, especially Glenn. That was very nice. A lot to live up to. But I'd like to thank everyone involved in the New England Antique Racers for your long hours and hard work preserving the history of racing in New England with the New England Auto Racers Hall of Fame and honoring me with this great award. Some of the people that are responsible for my success are here today, and some of them aren't. I would like to thank them all, especially the ones that made it here today to share this moment. This award is equally shared with all of those that helped me to reach this point. I would like to take a little time to honor my father tonight, C.A. For those of you that don't know him, he was truly unique. I would compare him with someone people in this area may be more familiar with, Lenny Bowler. My father would milk the last ounce of life out of a racing part. His joy came from doing things differently. He would spend hours designing, and even days, designing and building a suspension that would defy logic and make it work. And we would argue for hours on every side of an issue, as if some truth would eventually be revealed if you argued long enough. There are a couple of images of my father that will always be with me. A beer, cigarette, and drive with your knee. Truly a danger. And the second thing is a cutting torch, which was his favorite tool. Congratulations to all the inductees, past, present, and future. Some I have known, and some I'm just thrilled to learn about today. You have added to this rich history, and you should be proud. Thank you for this award. It will be cherished. Thank you.